Welcome to a fine gaming experience, everyone. Bricks here with the usual co-host.
Hey everyone, we're going to fight one of my favorite monsters, and hopefully you won't die a tragic death.
It has been a while since we recorded last. I do apologize for that, but I had a back injury, and between the two of us, I think we've had, 5 birthdays at least?
At least. I probably missed a few. Sorry to anybody I missed the birthday of. You're probably not watching this, but sorry.
Hey!
And after the credit songs were playing last time, I cut this part afterwards. Figured many wouldn't be sitting through the entire credits for a short scene like this.
You ready to shake things up? The new world awaits. Let's get hunting.
Come on, Capcom mascots.
We really are here. Like, this is Team Capcom.
Now, you notice that the Hunter rank cap being removed just happened? During the main game, your Hunter rank is kind of kept very, very steadily increasing. You can't move past a certain point. The post-game, you can do almost anything to raise your Hunter rank. In fact, there's actually optional quests and event quests that can help you raise it even higher than you would normally. And Hunter rank is very important because that will kind of be our gating mechanic. There's some really nasty fights once you hit certain thresholds of your now ever-raising Hunter rank.
It's a good way to lock you behind stuff, but Ryu's done a lot of work for us here, so time to retire and get a brand new weapon to play with. One of your favorites.
It's hard to say. I actually used to be a main of this weapon, and I would say in Iceborne I've kind of switched over to a new weapon. Mind you, I'm also very well kitted out with that new weapon, so maybe that's the big thing, but I like to go back to this every once in a while.
Well, I would say your skills from when we played last embarrassed mine at the Lance, but this has some cool, neat designs for workshop weapons like the flags and whatnot.
Yeah, I actually love the Lance designs. They do some really cool stuff with the shields, too.
This one, too, is one of the coolest designs out of all of them, I find. At least it will be once we're fully upgraded. Right now, it's not too fancy.
I actually know a lot of players like the very standard weapons, the classic Monster Hunter weapons. In fact, if you look at a lot of the NPCs in the game, they're using generally fairly low-rank weapons, or they're using something that is an iconic Monster Hunter weapon. The Bone Greatsword is one of the most iconic of all the Monster Hunter weapons out there.
You see that, and you know what it's from.
Oh, yeah. If you actually look at the shield here, the shield has got these sort of like sprouted pigtails coming out of it, stuffed with Kirin fur, no doubt. But it's actually a bit of an homage to the female armor set for Monster Hunter in previous games. And one of the great things about it is they kind of put that iconic look onto the shield itself. She's back!
Finally, she's been resting away, and this new armor set will be very effective for her. Basically, we're going to throw on 3 pieces of the Nergigante set, so every 7 hits, I believe, she'll heal from. With a quick poking weapon like the Lance, that can be very effective. We're also going to up the elemental critical damage with the 2 Rathalos pieces there.
Which is very important. Actually, this is some good set building. We really haven't touched too much on set building until, I would say, this point. There have been some nice abilities, but we really haven't honed in on the whole set bonus. But set bonuses are huge. And if at all possible, try to always get yourself exactly what Bricks here is doing. Get a 3-piece set bonus and a 2-piece set bonus together, if possible.
It's a good way to overlap very useful skills. And now that we're done with Ryu, we gotta get rid of his tone, and I figured, let's match the weapon up. Haven't seen the color palette changes too much here, and we're also going to show off weapon and armor upgrades. You've seen the weapon ones a lot, but not the armor. Just brighten it up a little bit, get that nice, shiny lanceness.
The one thing that I actually think a lot of players were disappointed with was the fact that they didn't have full glamours at this point in the game. That's actually fairly new. A lot of people like the look of a certain full set, but they either don't have the pieces to make that set, or it just doesn't have the skills they need anymore. It gets outclassed. So in Iceborne, they have gone ahead and added in a lot of glamored pieces, so you can put a new look to your set, or maybe an old look to your current set of gear. Also helps get rid of that look, but this is what they used to have. They used to have this concept of just dyeing your gear. And what you're doing right here is enhancing your armor with armor spheres, which is not something we really needed to do that much in the early game, but it's extremely important. Some of the post-game monsters will destroy you if you haven't invested in your armor.
Just watching the defense increase we can get. This started off at 64, it's at 70, and this is a minor upgrade. All the high rarity pieces can't get upgraded as much, while the low ones can get upgraded more. It's basically a way to platform all the armor at a certain point.
And unfortunately, some of the higher armor sets just are better, even when fully upgraded, than the lower rank sets. They do want you to upgrade, but they're pretty nice about it. You can get some pretty powerful stuff without having to go through a huge amount of boosts. You can see you're only looking like a 68 defense here instead of the 70 plus we were seeing on other sets, but it's still a lot. And that's actually a really cool charm you're using right there. One of my favorites.
It can save your butt so many times, and having it all the way up to rank 3, just so useful. Unlike what she's doing.
Poor Elder Melder. She is useful. She has very useful things. But she's very much she's making garbage soup.
Yeah, she gets much more useful later into Iceborne. I want to say it took Iceborne for her to fully get realized.
As someone who hates making his own pitfall traps, I actually rather like her.
Look at all the blue exclamation marks we got here, but let's do this one. It's been sitting around for quite a while. Time to go take on our buddy Pickle.
And this fight is very unique. It's actually going to be a special fight to start. Probably the best way to put it is a special objective we have to achieve. And then after that special objective, it'll be just a pretty standard.
It's a good way to intro the monster, though.
And this is a brute monster. It is all about damage, so those armor upgrades are going to come in handy. Lance is also an excellent weapon against it, although one of the worst things about fighting Pickle is he manages to swing his tail or his mouth ahead or behind him in certain directions. It's really hard to get a good even block unless you're in the right place. We'll see how you do.
When we've seen monsters be aggressive in different ways so far, there's Great Jagras that is always hungry and will go after herbivores and even you pretty regularly. There's Beetlejuice that will come into fights going on and just mess you up. And then we have this guy, who just loves picking up people and throwing them around, be it you or other monsters.
There's a lot of unique mechanics to this monster, and if I remember correctly, this is the first bonus monster that was added to Monster Hunter World. After the end game, they patched him in, and people were very excited. Unfortunately, there was actually a quest you had to do about eating. I can't remember the exact quest. You had to go gather mushrooms, and for some reason, that quest was like super high level, like really high level quest. So people are like, oh, this is the quest that's going to lead into the new monster that they've announced. And it wasn't, and people were very disappointed. But then they released the Food Shade Dominator quests, and now we have a good time on our hands.
Except for the handler, who didn't listen to all the warnings. We cleared this area out of all civilians so that we could go take Devil Ho on one-on-one. But someone was listening to their stomach instead of us. We're literally tracking her footprints right here.
She really likes to eat.
Take that, you toad.
Wow. Now this
It was rude. I mean, you really are kind of a bully in this game.
It was in my way, and, it was looking at me funny, so, I kicked it.
I feel a little bad every time I see a dung beetle rolling by in the wastes, and I kick it out of the way and steal the poop.
If you're not sure it's right, take a bite.
I'm taking your poop.
Okay, first of all, no one accept any of the things that the handler says as fact. If you need to know if something is good, don't put it in your mouth. There's literally a song called "Don't Put It in Your Mouth."
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, you've got to know. You've got if it don't. What is it? If it
What a
Don't
Doesn't
you
look
put
right,
it in
take
your
a bite?
mouth. Dun, 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 dun.
Not that song.
No?
No, that's what she was saying. That's fine. Especially strange mushrooms. You should not be eating those.
Yeah, we've seen what happened to the Avatar during his adventures.
Oh, yes.
That was a Lord British reference.
I don't think anyone is as ancient as us to know the Avatar. Oh, there's the boy.
A hungry boy.
And he's not just biting this creature. His powerful jaw is actually capable of gripping and holding a monster.
And here's the special scenario we gotta go through. The handler, if you look very closely, is clinging for dear life to the back of Devil Ho. And our goal is to knock him over one way or another. We're supposed to attack his spiny little legs there and knock him over. I'm trying to cut off his tail, which will knock him over. He goes for option C.
Good block on that one.
You will see me whiff a lot, though. I'm getting used to the range a lot with this weapon.
The lance is all about those reset positions. So you'll be in one position and you'll have to go, okay, what's the fastest way I can move into the next position? You can actually do a full 180 turn if you're facing one direction with another with that charge attack, but it's a bit of a pain to learn how to do it.
Right there, you saw her flick out the claws, and I'll try it a couple times, but it's hard to line up at first, where you'll, instead of countering with your shield, counter a physical attack by grappling on and doing an unblockable counter, pretty much.
Longsword actually makes this fight very easy if you're just trying to knock her down, get her off, because it sweeps the legs with so many of its attacks. But Lance is better for the second part of this fight, by far.
Never give up.
Sweep the legs, send him home in a body bag, Johnny. That's Pickle's new name, is Johnny.
You're quoting a lot of really obscure stuff today.
It's what I do, though.
Hey, partner.
Ooh, vine trap.
One thing I really like with Devil Ho is how aggressive they are. If you put down a trap, or there's stuff like the vine trap in the area, it's not too hard to get them to walk into it. In fact, Pickle is one of the few creatures that will chase you from zone to zone if you decide to run away from it.
Now, his behaviors right now are very strange, but I still recommend people get used to the behaviors in this quest, because if you're playing with multiplayer, this is kind of how he reacts when there is a mount.
Just going nuts.
Oh, yeah. He does lots of spin attacks when you're nowhere near him.
And one thing I don't show off that a lot of weapons get from Iceborne is a Slinger Burst, where you'll just launch out a bunch of projectiles at once. Very handy, and I really should use it more, but it's kind of situational with the lance.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of using the Slinger Burst that often with the lance, but again, I'm still getting used to using Slinger Burst.
I don't think I've ever seen you use the Slinger Burst in multiplayer, to be honest.
The bow.
Ah. Well, I meant with the lance.
Oh, no. No, I actually prefer to just... It's a very patterned weapon, and I generally like to keep my patterns rolling. And if you kind of lose the rhythm with the lance, you get yourself killed. There's a lot to pay attention to. You've got to pay attention to your facing, your stamina. You've got to pay attention to what charge level you're on the shield. You've got to pay attention to where the monster's body part is, thrusting up or straight ahead.
Even how you link your combos, because you can link your combos by doing the short guard shield block there. I like to do that method a lot, but sometimes you might want to backstep or sidestep to reposition, and I'm bad for knowing that timing.
There's actually a style of lance fighting called evade lancing, where you rely on evade extender and other evade techniques, and instead of blocking with the lance, you actually just hop in huge amounts all around a monster and just continue to poke it. It's pretty scary. Like somebody like Devil Ho, it's a little harder against because of the size, but yeah, I've seen some evade lancers just do great. I'm kind of a mix. I like to evade when I can, but I mostly will use my guard and counter. Excellent guard there.
Thank you. I went for more of an offensive way. And I must say too, once I tried other weapons with Fiona after this, it was hard to get away from the ability to just block everything. It's amazing how good the shield is for Lance.
And you don't really think about it, but the Lance is an extremely offensive weapon. You're constantly attacking. Really, if you were trying to be a good Lance player, don't think of the shield as a device to block. Think of it as a device to set up counterattacks. Because the faster you kill a monster, well, the less you have to deal with its attacks.
Alrighty then.
Hey, partner.
Devil Ho is an interesting creature with all its different moves. It's got a new breath weapon we really haven't seen up to this point, where it'll do Dragon Blight.
And Dragon Blight is so nasty if you're using an elemental weapon. It basically blunts the damage of any element that you have on your weapons. So in this case, the lightning damage that he's doing, or thunder damage, is actually doing less if he gets blighted. But the shield is great because it can actually help block the Dragon Blight, and you don't even have to worry about it. And we got kind of lucky there.
Just knocked himself out, and that freed the handler like we've been trying this whole time. And yes, if you do not free the handler in time, you will lose this mission.
Mm-hmm. They replace her with a body double. That doesn't actually happen. It's just my assumption.
They do that later.
I noticed you pulling out the claw there. I think that's some old going for hammer moves when you've been using the lance.
Yeah, it's a little bit of it, and it's just getting used to the patterns and whatnot for the... This swung right over my head. I was hoping that would...
Yeah. You almost want the monster to hit you while you're playing Lance.
That's why I found it so weird to switch, because yeah, after playing like with the grapple claw.
Oh boy. You're getting munched.
Yep. This is a great opportunity to have flash pods on, but if you don't, you're ready to dodge.
That attack right there, especially when you're prone, can kill you in one hit.
Yeah, we remember Anjanath's Rut being very dangerous, and Pickles is probably 10 times worse.
I actually think there's a lot of comparabilities between Anjanath and, man, I call him Pickle it's Pickle all the time, Devil Ho. There's definitely a lot of comparisons you can make about their skills, because they are very similar monsters. It's very hard to hit both the tail and the head. The only thing I think Devil Ho has that's more irritating, nice, tail popped off, it's more irritating is just Devil Ho doesn't get tired very easily. Anjanath at least needs to catch its breath, even after doing a flamethrower. Devil Ho will just stay mad.
You might find moments where he's just sitting there and drooling for a little bit, but it's rare. You're going to have a lot of times where you are on the defensive. Now, that said, if you do get the powerful attacks off going when it's doing an attack, you'll find you're very prone to doing the knockdown attacks against it.
Yeah, its little spindly legs are actually pretty easy to sweep. Lance is not a great weapon for sweeping legs, unfortunately. But Lance is great at hitting the head and the tail.
And dashing when a monster is knocked over can be so fun. You just hit him over and over and over again. And if you're lined up just right, you're not going to slide to either side. Just straight on damage for as long as the monster stays down.
Now, you got stuck right there in the turnaround. When you're doing your lance charge, you can actually pivot 180 degrees and face the other direction. It's very similar buttons to press to just stop your charge entirely. If you press a direction, you'll just keep spinning back and forth. You just need to let go of the directional pad and just tap the button. I am guilty for doing that all the time. Running past a monster, then turning around by accident, then turning around again, then finally blocking and just standing there going, okay, I'm safe.
I like using the shield to stop. It's a good way to just put the brakes on.
And if you encountered anything bad, it's a nice way to handle yourself.
The charge is very fun, but beware in multiplayer, it is one of the easiest moves to fuck around your teammates with in a bad way.
Oh yeah.
At least with Hammer, I'll knock you in the air and you can do some aerial maneuvers. This one, you're just getting poked out of your move.
Charge is wonderful in certain situations, but you really shouldn't be using the charge for anything more than travel. And if a monster has fallen over and you have a good clear shot at its body, you can't get to its head or its tail, because both of those lift up and down, you can't really get a charge on. It's basically only those times you should be using your charge attack or to set up a mount. because you can actually do a charge attack, jump, and press an attack button, and it actually does tons of mounting damage with that thrust. So Lance is one of the easiest weapons in the game to mount with. Doesn't require a cliff or anything. Just do your dash, jump, and do a flying stab.
And here's one of the coolest things with Pickle. You put him into a pitfall trap, it's so big that it will keep on fighting. It does a couple bites, it'll breathe, but Pickle's still angry Pickle.
That was a Jaggers that just bit your butt there.
Yeah, unfortunately the Jagresses decide now's the time to take advantage of the creature trapped in the trap.
Just talking about excellent times to use the charge, and you just did it right there. And we got a Clutch Claw right after.
It is so good when you get your timing down for that move. It's hard to get it perfect, but rewarding.
Now you notice there wasn't a lot of damage there, but he hit in the middle of the Devil Ho doing this big charge attack. Devil Ho puts all its weight onto those little tiny legs, and so if you hit it with even the smallest attack in the right side of the head, you'll knock it flat over.
Now, I'm also screwing up there with my guard block because there's a way to just do your big attack right out of there if you want to explain it.
So it's a little tricky, but what you do is you actually go into a counter attack. So you're going to go into your counter stance, and then right after your counter stance, you dive down into your heavy block with the shield, and then you can go back into a quick attack counter, and you can even turn yourself 180 degrees. It's a great way to reposition and keep yourself safe at the same time. So again, you're going to go for your counter, then go deep into your block, and then you're going to spin around and stab them wherever they might be. The nice thing is, it counts as if you've been charging up your lance for like the good 2 or 3 seconds it takes to charge up, but it only takes about a minute or two. Or sorry, minute or two. That'd be terrible. A second or two to set up. I can only do this attack once.
I'm going to charge up my spirit ball here.
Everyone hold your lances up.
Yep.
Yep.
Give me your energy to fight Pickles.
Hey, if there's one monster out there that requires the entire energy of the planet to beat, it's probably him.
Everyone just gets eaten by Pickle.
Anytime a monster has a theme song, you know he's an issue. All right, we got the Dragon Blight there. Now, he just mostly breathed that into the cliff, but that stuff is nasty if it hits.
And he's got a couple different breath attack methods with it too. We usually see the left to right just in front of him, but sometimes he'll do a straight-on burst, and it's just annoying to deal with because the range, since it's very smoky, can be hard to predict.
So you're almost more fragile with the lance when you don't have your shield up. Like, even more fragile than using daggers or something.
Definitely had a lot of learning curves for me getting back into the lance, and I did a lot of multiplayer with it afterwards to build some more parts to my library and such, so I feel kind of bad for some of these moments, but right there, timing was good for the block.
He's just so much movement, very evasive. That attack right there is super rare. He basically sticks his head in the ground and like slams it upwards. He can actually throw a giant boulder at you, and it does incredibly high damage.
What I love about that boulder attack is it's affected by the environment he's in. So if he's in a lake area like you see around the Wildspire Waste, he'll actually throw a mud ball at you. If he's in a lava area, he'll throw a piece of lava at you and so forth. He can do a lot of different elements.
I don't like the idea of being hit with lava.
How does he hold it comfortably? Well, he eats everything, so.
Just did a shot to the head and got a clean knockout there.
And that's why I love doing a Slinger Burst to the head. Not only does a huge amount of damage, but leaves him open for easy follow-ups. We also get to see something neat here in a minute. I'm going to trigger this bit of smoke so the monster can't see me. But Devil Ho's going to sniff around and very quickly realizes I am literally under his nose. And kind of pissed I was trying to hide there.
Use that herbal medicine.
See, he's very angry.
Really mad, yeah.
That's what you get for trying to hide his lunch on him, like. Could you picture if, one of your workmates were hiding your lunch when you were starving?
I don't think I would lose my mind, start roaring and shooting red breath weapons at them, but I might.
If you had the potential to, you might, eat their face.
Wait, are we talking like it's just a tuna fish sandwich or like leftover pizza? Because leftover pizza, I may be willing to actually channel my inner pickle.
House-made bento box.
Oh, I would kill someone.
I've had a couple of those for lunch. I admit I probably would too. Just in case he went that way, but instead, out of nowhere, Toby just takes a bite out of me.
Yep. And is like, you know what? I probably don't want to get into this fight right now and just leaves. Now, one thing to remember about Devil Ho, Devil Ho's a very aggressive monster, so Devil Ho will not really go to sleep even when they're injured. They're more likely to just wait for you in an area, so be ready to set your trap a little distance back. And remember, if you only have a pitfall, you can still capture him in the pitfall, but he can attack you while you're trying to do it, so get behind him.
If nothing else, that might be one of those times you use your trank bombs first. And
Yeah,
then
the
put your
tranks
trap
stay
down.
in the system. I actually didn't know that. This is something that Bricks discovered when we were playing together, is that the trank bombs could be used preemptively, and then you can trap them afterwards.
It's kind of funny, though, that way, because there's been times we've just doped the enemies up on a lot of trank bombs.
Oh, yeah. There's sleep food in the game, too.
Yeah, we can do poison meat and other baits like that for the monsters to lure them in. Devil Ho is super, super susceptible to that.
Oh, yeah. Very hungry monster.
And lots of bits there.
I feel like the bait is something that they didn't really use in the game. Like, it's in there because, yes, it was in the earlier Monster Hunter games, but it doesn't really serve an expressed purpose.
Do I really want to go through all the crafting to make a poisoned piece of meat, put it down, and hope the monster finds and eats it? Or do I want to just poke them with my weapon a couple times and do damage anyways? Like,
You have only so many slots in your inventory, and you're going to want Mega Potions, you're going to want 2 Max and Ancient. You probably want some of your anti-poison stuff in there. Then there's 4 items that are going to raise your stats, both your defense and your attack, that you're basically necessary for endgame fights. By the time you're done, you pick up a few things on the hunt, you probably don't have the room to put much else in there. So the meat feels like it should have been maybe like an environmental thing you could have done, like a trap you walk by where you could go and put some poison on a piece of meat or something like that.
it would have been nice to combo it with another trap, almost.
Yeah, absolutely. To put a piece of meat down in a trap, have a that actually might even work to lure a monster into a trap. But you want to be where the trap is, so it's better to just set it at their feet.
Again, like, do you really want to risk wasting the item and all the inventory space for something the monster might not even go after? Like, there's a couple times where the monster will just see you and say, no, I'm going to eat your face instead of the meat.
You look far more delicious.
And you have less of that chloroform smell.
And you're wearing my cousin's skin as a suit.
And my uncle's as a weapon.
Yeah, there's a lot of reasons why monsters want to bite our heads off, but it's all survival.
And after all, we get rewards like that, which really is not that handy. There's a few things you want Dragon Blight protection from, but...
Yeah. Unfortunately, Dragon Blight is basically Pickle and a couple other monsters. Until you get to... honestly, even when you get to Iceborne, there's just not that many monsters that have Dragon Blight. It's a fairly rare status.
You can probably count on one hand the amount of monsters in the game in total with the expansion that have Dragon Blight.
But any of the elemental mantles are like that. You're going to use them for specific difficult fights and nothing more. Looking at some cool gear, the Xenojiva gear.
You gotta love the look of this one with the helmet, the multiple eyes, the glowing bits floating out everywhere.
And the skills on it are great. It's got Razor Sharp Spare Shot, which is an awesome skill because it actually works for both your ranged and your melee weapons. The Razor Sharp part of it allows you to keep your sharpness high throughout a fight, doesn't deplete as quickly. And Spare Shot allows you to keep your ammo up. Now, Spare Shot is just disgusting because there are some ammo types that only carry like 1 or 2 pieces, and this makes sure that when you fire, there's a chance they aren't consumed.
It helps you really stay on the aggressive, and those ammos that you probably only have 2-3 pieces of are probably your highest damage ones. So being able to sit there and just pound out numbers, it is very luck based, but oh man, when it flows right, you can do so much.
Yeah, the nice thing is, though, about the spare shot skill, when you actually get that, you can just keep firing. So very often you'll be using a weapon that has, let's say, like a light bowgun that's got a triple shot, and normally you'd go one shot or like pop, 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 and you'd have to reload. When you can just keep shooting, when every time you fire there's a chance it doesn't expend ammo, the damage you can put out is obscene. Because it's really the toughest part of any ranged weapon is that reload phase.
It's just upping your DPS in so many ways. It's a lot better for ranged users than melee. The half sharpness loss is okay, but we've already got gimmick things like that.
Yeah, there are some really cool skills you can get. Some we haven't quite found yet. Now the Devil Ho sets are gorgeous, gorgeous sets if you are a fan of professional wrestling. They're very much, you know what? They're also a little bit kind of like tokusatsu, sort of Sentai. They still have that feel too. They kind of look like...
You get 5 of them in different colors and they summon a giant robot.
It kind of looks like, oh man, this is going to bother me. There's the one based on bugs, Kamen Rider. Kamen Rider's one too. It's got a lot of that look to it. Now, the women's style is a little different.
It looks way too much like the Tzatziki armor for my liking, but it does have extras.
It does. It does. The little bit of glow on it is pretty cool. I don't really get where the blue is coming from. That's one thing I don't understand. Devil Ho is very much a red and kind of dark green creature, so the blue is confusing.
I do have the blue overtones going right now from the color set.
Right. Okay. I am now no longer mystified by why is it blue. It is nice that it lets you change that feature, and it probably has that kind of glowing tone to it, which is nice too. The stats on it are good outside of speed eating.
Oh, the skills on this one are great. All the power-up ones you get, like latent power, being able to use your items more, and you even get a cool chain belt with this one.
Rakishly tilted to look extra cool.
Extra anime.
I'm actually a really big fan of the Palico set, though. In fact, it's one of my favorite sets in the game. It has good stats on it, too.
It is a really nice-looking set. It's pretty interesting, but I find this early on you might want to go for the Xeno'jiiva one instead.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this pretty princess outfit right here.
There's actually some really cool stuff you get off this set. One of the biggest things you get is the attack power on the weapon is great if you look at that dragon, and I believe it even has some Elder Seal on it, does it not?
Indeed, and it's even a cutting weapon, so you might sever parts randomly with your Palico if you're lucky.
Yeah, if you're working on it yourself, you probably will. Now, low Elder Seal, you're not going to see a ton out of it, but you'll see some.
We've had some lucky opportunities with even paralysis and such. You might not always notice it, but it will help you out. There's your Lucha Libre cat.
Very much Lucha Libre. I wish they had some eye holes in the mask, but I mean, it's still a really good representation. And I also love the giant paw print on the belt. It's like I am the champion of all cats. Now, we didn't talk a lot about the Devil Ho weapons, but they are some of the highest raw damage in the game of any weapon. They do have negative affinity, like most of the really high damage weapons, but they also have a little bit of dragon damage on them to just bring them over the edge.
I'm probably going to pull one out next time to show it off, but next time we got some very cool crossover events to tackle, so I hope you join me for that, and take care all.